Hi everyone, it's Lynn with Curiosity Crochet. I'm tripping up on my words this morning. Um, well, we did these eggs the other day, and of course you can make as many eggs as you want, but I came up with this little basket that we could put the eggs in, or you can do whatever you want with the basket. Now, I apologize. I am always trying to set this camera up so that I can get a better angle, but I'll tell you what, I need a real camera, not a phone. But anyways, I came up with this little basket. It's all made up of double crochet, but we got some V stitches, and starts out with just double crochet in the round. And of course, we'll do everything together. And then we bow it out just a little bit at the bottom here, and then come up and finish it off with a row of double crochet. And then I just did 2 handles on each side. I wanted to do something a little different than just an average Easter basket with the one handle. But this is done with the cord technique. And we'll do that together too. But I didn't do mine real big. I did it small so that I could put my eggs in it. I just put some stuffing in there and put the eggs in there. I think I'm going to make a few more eggs to put on top of the stuffing, but I wanted to get the basket made up for you guys so we could do this together. Now, I used Red Heart Super Saver and this Bernat Super Value, which is basically the same thing. They really are basically the same thing. But I used 2 strands. That's what gives the basket its nice shape, and its holdability is the word I'm going to use, where it stays in the basket shape. It's the easiest way to do that. So that's what, and you can use one color, you can use 2 colors, it doesn't really matter. And you know, you could use this basket for other things too. You don't have to just use it for Easter. So if you don't want to make it in like Eastery colors, or, you know, whatever colors you guys want to make it in. Now, I made that one with this color and a light pink. Today for the tutorial, I'm going to use this in the yellow. I just thought that would make really pretty. It would make it really pretty. And I used a 7mm crochet hook. Now, if you want it to have like a little bit of bigger holes in it or whatnot, you can use an 8mm or a 9mm. I just tend to use the smallest hook possible that I can for the project I'm using with bigger stuff like this, because my oops. My hands don't work real well. So if I go too big, I get a little bit crampy and my arthritis acts up. So I don't tend to go bigger than a 7 or an 8. And on this one, I felt like the 7 was good enough since I was doing the V stitches. So I didn't want it to be too spaced out. I didn't want the stitches to be too big. So this was perfect for me for this project. And it is just a small little basket. It works up real quick. If you don't have Red Heart Super Saver or Bernat Super Value, any 4-weight will work. You just need 2 strands of it. Now, you could also use a 5-weight or a 6-weight and just use 1 strand. It'll turn out exactly the same. I just didn't have really any good 5-weights that I would want to do this with. The stiffer the yarn, the better the basket's going to turn out. And Red Heart Super Saver and this Bernat Super Value, they're a little bit stiffer of a yarn, so they're perfect for projects like this. But then, of course, you'll need scissors and a tapestry needle. We don't have to measure anything today. This will go real quick. And, I think that's it. And I'll give you, when we get to when we start going, if you want to make yours bigger, I'll tell you how to go bigger. But this one's one you can follow straight along for what I'm doing. I wrote everything out so that we can do it exactly the way I made this one. So let's round up all of our stuff and get settled, and we'll meet back and we'll get going on this. Okay, once we've rounded up all of our materials, you're going to hold both your strands together, or if you have a 5 or 6 weight, you're going to have one strand, whichever way works. We are going to start with a slip knot on our hook, however you make your slip knot. And we are going to chain 4. Now, make sure if you're using 2 strands like I am, make sure you grab both those strands in there. And you're going to do 4 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to come back and we're going to slip stitch into this first chain here. I almost said stitch. We're going to make a little loop. Okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now that counts as our first double crochet. Now through this whole project, our chain 3s are going to count as our first double crochet. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go right into the center of this loop we created, and we're going to make 11 more double crochets. So we're going to yarn over and we're going to go into this loop and make double crochets around the loop. So there's 1, 2, and make sure you get your ends in there, crochet over these ends, because then you can pull it tight and it'll close it up real good at the bottom there. So counting the chain 3, we have 1, 2, 3, and we want a total of 12 with the chain 3. So we got 4, 5, and then go ahead and get all the way up to 12, and remember 12 including your chain 3. So you're making 11 double crochets. Go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you when we come back around. Okay, once you come back around and you have your 12 stitches, including your chain 3, we're going to slip stitch into the top of our chain 3. So you just want to find the top of that chain 3 and slip stitch to close it off. Now what we're going to do is we're going to increase in every single stitch. Now we're going to chain 3, and that's our first double crochet. Now to do an increase, we're going to go in and we're going to put 1 more in that chain 3 in that spot that we slip stitched. So now we have 2 coming from there. Oh, excuse me. My throat is dry. Now we're going to put 2 double crochets in every stitch around. And you don't want to miss this first one. Like mine isn't pulled too tight this time, but sometimes when you work into the top of that chain 3, the very next stitch sometimes is a little hidden because it pulls it. So you want to make sure you get in that first stitch next to your chain 3. And you're going to go in there and you're going to put 2 double crochets. And then you're going to put 2 double crochets in each stitch around. So we'll go from 12 stitches to 24 stitches. So just go in every single stitch and put 2 double crochets. Okay, and then I'll meet you back at the beginning here. So when you come back around, you'll have 1 stitch left, and then you'll have like that fake stitch from where you slip stitch. So don't work into there. Just get your last 2 in this last stitch. And you should have 24 stitches. So if you're not sure, just count your stitches. And when you come around to this last one, you should have 24, including your chain 3. So then we're going to slip stitch in the top of that chain 3. And now we're going to do 1 more row of increases. We're going to chain 3. This is our first double crochet coming out of there, right? So that's one double crochet. Now in the next one, in this one that I told you sometimes gets hidden, we're going to put 2 in there. So that's our increase. So you've got 1 by itself and then 2 in the next. So that's what we're going to repeat now. We're going to put 1 in the next stitch and then 2 in the next. And then 1 and then 2. Okay, so go ahead and repeat that, and we'll meet back when we're coming up towards the end here. So 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, and just repeat that all the way around. Okay, then when you come back around, when you're coming around here, you should have 2 stitches left for 1 and a 2. So you'll put 1, and you'll always end on an increase when you're doing rounds like this. Depending on, because some people start, this is I'll tell you this, some people start with the increase and do the 1 by itself, and some start with the 1 by itself and the increase. So it always depends on how you start the row. So we started with 1 and an increase, so you'll end with 1 and an increase, and then you'll have your fake stitch from the slip stitch. So remember, don't ever work in there. And you should have 36 stitches now. So you can always count and make sure you have the 36 stitches. And then we're going to slip stitch in the top of that chain 3. Now, technically that's our last increase. And now we're just going to go and put 1 double crochet in each stitch around. Now the row after that, we're going to do something that's kind of like an increase, but it just helps it bow out at the bottom here of it. I don't know if you can tell, but it just bows out just a little bit at the bottom here and then comes back in and goes up. Just for a little character, just a little, you know, je ne sais quoi. So what we're going to do, like I said, now for this row is we're going to chain that 3, which is our first double crochet. And then don't miss the one that gets hidden sometimes, and put double crochet in there. And then we're going to put 1 in every stitch. So we're not doing any kind of increase or anything right now. We're just putting 1 double crochet in each stitch all the way around. So now we're starting to build our actual basket. And like I said, it's not a real big one. It works up nice and quick. And, you know, could make a nice little gift too. Look at, I dropped one of the strands of yarn. See, you got to be careful. And if you don't catch it and you keep going, it'll screw you up. These colors kind of look pretty together. I like that. Okay, so just go ahead for this round and just put 1 double crochet all the way around. I'll meet you when we're back around on this side. Okay, I'm coming around here, and now it's starting to come up a little bit, but we're going to do something that's going to bring it out in the next row. But I have 2 stitches left here. We should still have 36 stitches when we come up around here. And remember, don't work into that fake stitch here from the slip stitch. And then we're going to slip stitch into the top of that chain 3. Now what we're going to do is we are going to chain 4 this time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that counts as our first double crochet and a chain 1. And we're going to go right back into that same stitch and do 1 more double crochet. So that's technically our first V-stitch. Okay. Now we're going to skip the next stitch and we're going to put a V-stitch in the next. So we're going to put a double crochet. We're going to Oops, I messed up. I'm sorry. For this row only, between the V-stitches, we're going to put a chain 1. That's going to help it bow out. So we're going to chain 1. Then we're going to skip 1 and we're going to put the next V-stitch in. So double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Sorry about that. And then chain 1. We're going to skip 1. And then in the next, put that V-stitch. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. And then chain 1. So you're chaining 1 in between these to make the V-stitch, and then you're chaining 1 after. And then you'll skip a stitch and put your V-stitch in the next. I hope that makes sense. You're just creating a little bit extra movement by putting that chain 1 in between. And this is the only row we'll do that in. We're going to make other V-stitch rows, but this is the only one you'll have to remember that chain 1 in between. So we've chained 1, we're going to skip 1. In the next stitch, we'll put the V-stitch. So double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1. Okay, so go ahead and repeat that all the way around, and you'll notice that it's coming out a little bit, but don't worry, because the next row will start bringing it back up again. So go ahead and repeat that around. I'll meet you when we come back around on this side. Okay, when you come around, now I've made this V-stitch and I've chained 1. I'm going to skip 1. And I'm going to work in this one. I'm going to put my last V-stitch, chain 1, and then there's one last one to skip. So make sure you do that last chain 1, and then we're going to slip stitch in the top of that chain 3. Okay, now if you notice, it's coming out a little bit, and that's what we want because this is going to do that little bow at the bottom. But here's also what I want you to do. It's coming up this way, and if you notice, this is the middle. This is where our ends are coming out. This is the inside. So we're going to flip it so that that's on the inside. And we're working on the outside of our basket then. Okay? So this is what we're going to do. We're going to slip stitch into the center where the center of our V-stitch, which, remember, the chain 4 was our double crochet and our chain 1. So we want to go into the center of that and slip stitch, so we're working in the center there. Okay, and then we're going to chain 3. No, we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, because that's our double crochet and chain 1. And then we're going to put our other double crochet to make that first V-stitch. Now we're not going to chain 1 in between anymore. We're just going to do V-stitches, and we're going to work in the center, in the chain 1 spaces, in the V-stitches. Not in these chain spaces, but in between the V. So you'll just jump to the next V and put your V in there. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Jump to the next one. So you skip over this and go to your next V. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Skip to your next V here. Put your V in the middle there. Okay, and you're just going to repeat that all the way around. I'll meet you when we come back over on this side. Okay, when you come around, we'll finish up this last one here. Well, if I don't get stuck on my yarn, we will. And if you notice, that brought it back in just a little bit. Like, you can flatten that bottom out, and you'll see that it bowed out and now it's coming back in now. We're going to slip stitch Now you want to try and slip stitch in the third chain up, not the fourth. You want to slip stitch in that third chain. And then just like before, we're gonna slip stitch in the center here to bring it to the middle. And then you'll chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you'll put another double crochet right into that center so that you've created your first V. And now you're just going to repeat that last row 2 more times. So you're going to go around making your V's. You come back and you slip stitch into the third chain and then slip stitch to the middle, chain 4, double crochet another one in the middle, and then go all the way around again, and then slip stitch to the third chain, and then we'll meet back up and we have 1 more row and the handles. We're getting close to already being done. Told you this was going to work up real quick. So go ahead and do 2 more rows of the V-stitch, and I'll meet you back when we come around on the last row over here. Okay, so I'm coming around on that second row and finishing this up. I'm doing my last V-stitch here. Well, at least trying to. Yes. And we are going to slip stitch to that third chain. And now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 3, and that's our first double crochet. We're going to put a double crochet in the chain space here, and then we're going to put 1 in the stitch of the other V. We're going to skip over this space, but we're going to put a double crochet in the stitch of that first double in the chain 1 space and in the next stitch. So that's what we're going to repeat around. You're just going to put 1 in each of the stitches from the V stitch and in the chain space. So you're going around and putting a double crochet basically around the whole thing. But just make sure you go into the chain space too. So you want to get in every space basically. In the stitches and in the chain space. And that's just creating a top to it basically. Now when you go in the chain space, I'm going to show you this real quick. When you go into the chain space here, sometimes it'll hide that next stitch here, like it'll push this over. Make sure you don't miss that. And you get in each one of these stitches and the chain space. Okay, so then it gives you just like a nice top border too. You've got the double crochet down here, our workup of the V stitches, and then our top border of our basket. So this is going to be the last row. So go ahead and do that all the way around, and I'll meet you when we come back around at the other side. Okay, when you come around, you're just going to finish off this last V. You're going to put 1 in the first stitch, 1 in the chain space, and 1 in the last stitch. And then we'll just slip stitch to the top of that first chain 3. And then you just flatten out the bottom, and you'll see that this bottom part bows out a bit. And then you've got yourself your nice little basket. And if you really want to, you could do a row of single crochet around the top just to finish it off, one last little thing. I didn't do that on the other one, but I was just thinking maybe I would on this one. Like if you feel like this is too wide for what you want it to be, you could also do like a row of decreases, like a small one, where you do, you know, like a certain amount in a row and then decrease it a little bit and just do that all the way around. It's totally up to you. Now, if you want the basket to be bigger, when we were doing the increase rows, you could do 1 or 2 more increase rows and still just do it the way, you know, then just go from where we did. So you would do 1 or more increase rows and then do your 1 row of double crochet around and then just jump into the V-stitches and then finish it off with your double crochet. And then if you want 1 row of single crochet, which I think I'm going to do. I think I'm going to do 1 row of single crochet all the way around. And then we are going to make the handles for this, they're really easy. I'm going to show you how to do it. And you'll make 2 and then we'll sew them on. So I'm going to do that 1 row of single crochet and then we'll meet back and we'll make up these and then sew in your ends, obviously. This one in here, you can probably just cut off because we crocheted it in, and then tie off and sew in this end, and then we will make the handles. Okay, I did 1 row of single crochet around. I thought that was kind of cute. But so you just kind of flatten the bottom out, and then you get this little, I love how this does this. Now, when you put the stuffing in it or whatever you're going to, like, because you can put stuffing in it like I did, like, you know, from like, what do they call this? Like polyfill is what I put in this, but you could use like the Easter grass or whatever and just decorate it however you want to. But I'm going to show you how to make the handles real quick. We're still going to use 2 strands. We're still going to use the same hook. Now, when you make your slip knot, leave yourself a pretty good sized tail so that you have something to sew that end on with. And, like, I'm not going to leave too much, but enough to work with here and make your slip knot. Now, we're going to make a cord. And, you know, you can use this to make bracelets. You can make all kinds of stuff with the cord stitch. But let me show you how to do this. So we're going to chain 2, okay? Now, we're going to work into this first chain. We're going to go into the top part of the chain. We're going to go in that top loop. And you're going to do a single crochet, okay? Now, we're going to work into the bottom loop of that first chain. We're going to come down here. Well, if I could, I would show you. Not here, but this part of this first chain here. And we're going to pull through the first one and then do that single crochet. Now, we're going to be working in these loops down here. So when you do it, it'll turn on you. And now you've got these loops down here. And we're just going to single crochet into those loops. See how it turns now? And now you've got loops here. And we're going to go, and you want to try and do your single crochets kind of loose so that this isn't hard to get into, because I am doing it a little tight and it's giving me issues. But you want to try and do it kind of loose so that you can get into there, unlike I'm doing. So you want to pull those kind of loose. And working with 2 strands is a little harder, but it's still doable. And I just pulled it through the whole thing. But leave that loose. See, and then it'll turn. And you want to work in these loops down here. My yarn is. And it'll make a cord, which is what the handles will look like. So now you want to do this for however long you want your handles to be. I did mine nice and short. So I did this about 24 times. Now, you can make yours as long or as short as you want to. Now, if you don't want to do them this way, if you don't want to do your handles this way, and there's another way you'd rather do them, then you do it like that. I really want you to do it however you want. Now, like I said, I did this 24 times for my other basket. I'm going to probably do it the same for this one because I like those little handles. I think it's cute. So you're going to make 2 of these. So go ahead and work up your handles, and then I'll show you how I sewed them on and how I made it so that they were equal on each side so that they matched up. And I did it real easy, so don't worry. I'm probably the person to do whatever I can the easiest so that it's not complicated. So go ahead and make your 2 handles, however long or short you want them. And when you tie off, make sure you leave a long end on the other side too to sew it on. Okay? Okay, now we've got our 2 handles, and I just stretch mine out. I pull the sides and stretch it out a little bit so that the cords are nice and pulled out. And then what we're going to do is, now the first one doesn't really matter because we're just going to find a spot to start it. And I'm going to do mine over where the join is. So I'm going to put the first one. We're going to thread up one of the ends on our tapestry needle. And we are going to find a spot to start, and I'm just going to eyeball it here, and I'm going to go in the top of one of the stitches and pull it in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through it, like right through the middle, come through, and I'm going to go right back through that stitch then and pull that tight. Now I'm going to go through the side over here so that we get it, and I'm just gonna bring the needle right down into that stitch and pull that through. So now both sides should be nice and secure, and if you want, you can go through this side one time and do the same thing, go down through that stitch. And just make sure it's on there secure. That's all we're really doing at this point, is making sure. And then I'm just going to go around that stitch and the next stitch a couple times. Just so that it's in there nice and good. And see, you can tug on it and make sure it's on there good. I mean, if you're going to be carrying something real heavy in it, then yeah, I would go through that a couple more times. But I'm using mine more for decoration and stuff. So then I'm just going to come into the inside of the basket, and I'm going to sew in that end a couple times. Just so that it's nice and tucked away, and that end is not going to be going anywhere. And because I'm using mine for decoration, I shouldn't be too rough on it, so this isn't, you know, gonna come out anytime soon. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna skip over some stitches here. So kind of eyeball it to where you want it to be. And I'm going to put this one a little closer together than I did the last one. So I'm going to skip over 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 stitches. And I should have done this before I started counting, and I'm going to do this side just like the other side. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And into this 5th stitch, oh, I want to come out this way. We're going to pull that through. And then I'm going to come around. And see, this side might be a little bit different, but I'm going to come around that and go through that middle. And then I'm going to come through. And on this side's a little bit skinnier. So I'm going to come up a little high here so that I can bring that down and make that nice and secure. And then come through this side and do the same thing. And then just go around the stitch a couple times. And the next one. And then give it a little tug. It seems good to me. And then do the same thing and sew this in. Now you can go in and out as many times as you want to get it as secure as you want it to be in every direction. Sorry, I just want to get this sewed in real quick. And then I'm going to show you how I matched the other side up. Oh my goodness gracious, I am having an issue with there. I'm sure you guys really enjoy watching me sew in my ends. That's got to be so interesting. Not. Well, and then I get it stuck. Go through one more time. Okay. Cut that off. And see, now you've got one good handle. And you can put them as far apart, like the ends, you can put them as far apart as you want to. I just did it this way this time. So, to match up the other side, I just folded it in half. And I kind of found where the matching stitches would be on this side. So I'm going to thread up my tapestry needle here. And then I'm just going to kind of match this up. So I'm thinking that right around here, we're going to go in here. And then I'm going to come through this middle and go through that stitch. Get that top part out of my way. And then I'm going to come through this side. And this side seems a little loose to me, but we'll fix that up right quick. And then I'm going to come through this side to bring it down a little bit. I don't like the way this is laying at all. I'm going to come through here. And I'm going to snag that loose piece. There we go. Okay. So you can always, that's the one thing I love about crochet, is you can always kind of play with it and fix, like even if you do make mistakes, you can play with it and fix it, and you know, it's not a big, okay, my camera's being goofy again. So when you, I think actually there was a call that came through or something. I don't know where it stopped recording, but I know I showed you the one side. So you're just going to match it up and then sew your handle, your other handle on to equal the other side. So then you'll have your little basket, you know, with your two little handles, and you do whatever you'd like with it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys are able to make it up real easy. And I'm going to finish sewing my handle on. And then I'll have an extra basket. So if you haven't already, I ask you to subscribe. I'd appreciate that. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram. And I'll see you guys in the next video. I've got something special planned for the next one, hoping to get it up tomorrow before Easter, because it's one more fun Easter project. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks. Bye.